Okay, so linear layouts are great for describing things that really are one thing after another. But for more complicated UIs, dividing everything into grids like that can be really complicated. And in fact, there's a better performing layout for just that situation. It's relative layout. So I'm going to go through the actual process of adding a new layout so you can see what happens. Rather than using this linear layout, I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to do layout. I'm going to do new, layout resource file. I'm going to say that my root element I want to be a relative layout. And for this, I will just call it activity relative layout.xml. And you'll notice that it automatically generates for me. I had to click text down here, but it automatically generates for me all the particular default settings that I need. Now, relative layout works pretty well in the editor. You can actually just take things and drag them around, and right now Android Studio does a pretty good job. But I actually want you to understand how to do this stuff in XML and then adjust in this view if necessary. Otherwise, what you're going to find is that certain types of lineups just don't quite line up where you want them, even when you're very clear about how you're trying to place them. So let's just start with a blank relative layout and see what happens. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give my background a color so I can kind of have some contrast that isn't just white. This time, let's do something more like this as a color. Now, normally in a linear layout, we would just have things one above the other. Here, though, let's take a text view. And I'm just going to have it be wrap content for both. And we'll actually have it say something. Let's say relative layout rules. And we'll actually change our text color to something that we can see as well. And why not also change the text size? Alright, so what if I just wanted this in the center of the screen? That's where relative layout is amazing. I can actually say Android layout and then describe where I want it to actually be. So if I want it to center it, for instance, horizontally, say center horizontal true, it's now centered horizontally. Or maybe I want it to layout center in the parent, true. It's now in the center of the parent. Well, that's fine, and there's a lot of things that are true and false of, hey, center this vertically or center this horizontally. But oftentimes we want a particular element to be next to something else. And that's what relative layout is so good at doing. But in order to do that, we need to start giving our views names. In fact, we're going to have to give our views names anyway later in order to connect them to code. I want you to slowly watch how I do this, because if you can do it the way that I do it, you're going to be able to make this stuff really quickly and fast. So I'm going to zoom in here, and it's all about having code that compiles already. So I do. This is actual XML that doesn't have any problems with it. And what you want to do is you want to type Android. You want to do that colon. You want to type ID. ID is going to be the equivalent of a name for this text view, an identifier. But here's what you want to do next. You want to press Tab. And then you want to press Tab again. If you don't press Tab the way that I just did it, you're going to have to remember exactly how to format this. Now, I have ID, and I have equals at plus ID. This is actually going to create a new identifier. So I can just call this center text. Notice I'm using camel case. And now this particular center text name is associated with this particular element. So remember again, ID, tab, you want to do it that way. Otherwise, you're always going to have to see that you've missed something like this, and you're just not going to be able to write this stuff very fast. Once you have a name for your view, you can actually just describe how you want to be around it. So let me create a button. Again, I'm going to have it wrap content. Oops. Like that. And we'll give it some text. Push me. And now I can describe where this is with those layout commands. layout below, above. For instance, right here, I might want to make it layout below, and here I can select center text. And sure enough, it's now laid out below center text. I can combine these relative elements of describing a particular element along with the true and false ones. So I can say layout center horizontal, set that to true, and now I've just put a button right below my text view named center text.